Hey, honey. Welcome in to another episode of Ashley Loves True Crime, honey. Now, listen, this isn't just another true crime podcast. This is where the story meets the mind. We talk about the cases you've heard about, the psychology behind it, the hard truth folks don't always want to face, mental health, morality, and what really happens when anger goes unchecked. No shock bait, no rushing past the pain, just real conversation told with care. So if you like your true crime thoughtful, honest, and a little deeper, go on and pull up a seat. This is True Crime, honey style. This episode is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Information is based on publicly available court records and statements from the U.S. Department of Justice. Tonight's cited sources will come from TennesseeStar.com, Detroit News, and Justice.gov. And so tonight's episode is going to be called Across Borders, a Mother, a Child, and an International Kidnapping Case. But before we get into that, you guys, as usual, we are going to have some admin. Now, if you don't want to hear my admin, please, by all means, skip about 5 minutes into this podcast, and I'm pretty sure me and my live audience will be done talking. So, on the last episode, I went into details about what happened to me when I fell down a flight of stairs on Christmas Eve. If you're not familiar with that story, I beg thee, go back onto YouTube on Ashley Love, look at the last episode that was uploaded for the new year, and that is where you will find my story of me falling. In that podcast, I did mention that I also not only fell, but I burnt the stove. And my cousin who listened to the podcast was like, Ashley, you got to give us more details about what happened. How did you burn this stove and also fall down during Christmas Eve? So we got the story on how I fell down. Now let's go to how I burnt the stove. So I love to cook. Cooking is my love language, is what I do. And even though I was in agony and in pain, I still wanted to cook a full meal. Y'all know everything that I made from the last episode. I hens, all that good stuff. Well, I made yams fresh, everything you want on brown sugar, vanilla, cinnamon, all that good stuff. Everything you can think of that you want to put in there, honey, all of that good love inside of those yams. And I had it in this nice pan. I had it in the oven. The oven was on very high. Now, unbeknownst to me, in the pan itself, there was a hole at the bottom of the pan, right? And it wasn't just dripping, y'all. It was drip, drip, dripping. Because apparently, maybe when I was stirring up the pan, I don't know how I did it, but I poked a hole in it. I don't know, maybe I was just doing too much. And my dad kept saying, I smell something. I'm like, Dad, you're tripping. I'm cooking, I'm doing everything. Well, he wasn't tripping. And my friend was my witness. When I opened up the stove, smoke just hit my face. I have glasses, y'all. Couldn't see anything. Now, mind you, I got a broken little hip, broken leg, my arm is all cracked up, and now the stove is completely burnt. And y'all, the craziest part about this whole story is after I tried to, do the best I could to just continue cooking, I had to redo the yams all over again, as much as the product that I had left, so it wasn't as much because most of it was on the stove. My family had the nerve to tell me, well, those yams could have been sweeter. And it just, y'all, it infuriated me. I said, yes, they did. I said, Christmas canceled. Everybody out. Get out of here. I'm in pain. I've been slaving over this stove. I fell down a flight of stairs, and the only thing you guys want to criticize me about is how sweet these yams. And y'all, in the crazy part of me, I just said, you know what? If you want it sweet, go lick the bottom of the stove. Am I wrong? Audience, jump in. Tell me if I'm wrong, and then also let me know how your New Year was, and let me know what happened here. Am I wrong?
Information down the stairs stove, so I definitely know the struggle issues. So super glad that everybody's okay. My New Year's was, a little lackluster. I really just stayed home, lived out at home, went back to work, and got screamed at by a bunch of crazy hotel guests. So same old.
Same old. So does anybody have anything else? We're gonna go about 6 more seconds. If anybody in the audience that wants to say anything, am I wrongs? So far I feel like I'm right. Okay, and the audience says I'm right.
Definitely right.
Okay, right.
I need the could have been sweeter comment. They could have also kept that.
Thank you. I'm right. I hope they hear the claps. I'm going to do it again. And I'm right. Studio audience agrees I'm right. All right, you guys. So let's get started, you guys. Across borders, a mother, a child, and an international kidnapping case. When custody battles cross borders, the consequences can be devastating, not just legally, but emotionally. For the children caught in the middle, today's case takes us from Tennessee to Portugal, then to Indonesia, and ends with a prison sentence in the United States. This is a story of Kate Carson, a Tennessee woman who became an international fugitive after kidnapping her 9-year-old son out of the country and refusing to bring him home. So, let's look deep into this case. On October of 2024, Kate Carson, 38-year-old woman from Lewisburg, Tennessee, was indicted by a Nashville grand jury for international parental kidnapping. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Carson was in the middle of a custody dispute with her ex-husband, the father of her son, when she relocated overseas. A family court judge did allow Carson and her son to travel to Portugal in 2023, but under strict conditions. They were required to return to the United States within a week. Instead, Carson sent a letter directly to the judge, making it clear she had no intentions of coming back. I want to be clear about my intentions. I currently have no plan to return to the United States, and no one in the U.S. knows my location, Carson wrote. My attorney had no prior knowledge of my intention to permanently leave the U.S. and does not know anything of my whereabouts, despite his numerous efforts to gain this knowledge. I apologize profusely for going against your orders, Carson continued. This will always be unsettling to me and very out of my character. Please understand that I don't think I have any other recourse for now. In the letter, Carson accused her ex-husband of alcohol abuse and alleged he had emotionally and physically abused her. These allegations could not be verified in court. So, these allegations had no proof, alcohol, or even physical abuse from Carson's ex-husband or any family or friends. No evidence before or after. Keep that in mind. Once the child's father began exercising his rights under the international law, Carson and the child fled again, this time to Indonesia. So the minute that he actually started pursuing the case, because she was already in Portugal, past the week's time, he started to reach out to the international division of people who help parents who have children overseas who have not been brought back. She actually decided she was going to Indonesia, which is a country without extradition treaty with the United States. Before we go any further, it's important to explain what international parental kidnapping actually is, because the term is often misunderstood. International parental kidnapping occurs when one parent takes a child across international borders in violation of a custody order or keeps the child in another country after permission to travel has expired. And here's the key point. It does not require force. A parent can love their child and still commit kidnapping under the law. It is not simply travel, even if the trip started with permission. What matters legally is what happens after the permission ends. The law treats the child's rights and the court's authority as permanent. So a parent can still face criminal charges even if they believe they are acting in their child's best interests. According to federal prosecutors, while on the run, Carson attempted to pay the child's father to stop pursuing custody. She sought to end the cooperation with the law enforcement, but by that point, authorities classified Carson as an international fugitive. In Kate Carson's case, a family court judge did authorize international travel, but only temporarily. When Carson refused to return to the United States and said she moved between countries, federal authorities determined that she had intentionally violated the custody order. At that point, the situation shifted from a family court dispute to a criminal matter with international consequences. According to reporting surrounding the case, Carson had remarried and had 2 additional children. Her husband also was the one helping her evade authorities. The details add important context because International parental kidnapping cases often involve entire family units making collective decisions, not just one individual acting in isolation. So let's take that in, you guys. My live audience, I want you guys to chime in. How do you guys feel so far about this story? Do you feel Carson was in the right or the wrong at this point?
Bring my baby back right now.
Okay, bring your baby back right now.
Bring my kid back, because that was not a part of the original agreement. You can't leave and then say, oh yeah, and just so you know, catch me if you can.
Absolutely.
But I'm still waiting to hear more.
Correct. Anybody else from the live audience? Okay, so let's look into what happened during this escape. She had remarried, and her husband was the one who was helping her, with court documentations. He was helping her find flights, all that good stuff with the children. So when she was in the Indonesian immigration officials, they eventually attempted to expel Carson from the country, but she refused to comply. Okay. She was detained briefly in Indonesia, but she then escaped the detention facility, you guys, and then relocated within the country with her son and her husband and her 2 children and other extended family members. Despite that, she was still tricky, y'all. So even after she evaded them, got caught again, she somehow still found her way back over. But as I said, she went from Portugal, then she went to Indonesia, and then was eventually apprehended in Detroit. Okay, and she was only caught because she was on a connecting flight. When the flight landed in Detroit, that's when they were able to capture her, because her plans was to go to another place that also did not have extradition. That was her end goal. She had already been actually researching places that would actually take her in. That only had like a 30-day process to apply for that, and it was a little town right outside of Sydney, Australia. So she was actually living in Indonesia, right? Because she escaped from them, left Indonesia, was taking a flight into. She was trying to go straight to, but there was a connecting flight they had to stop in the United States, and then that's where they actually detained her in Detroit, and that's where the Detroit newspaper came from. So the acting U.S. Attorney Robert E. McGuire stated that protecting vulnerable children from harm is the highest priority of our office. Kate Carson kidnapped her young son in full defiance of family court orders because she thought she knew better. She is now being held accountable. When you strip this case down to the legal facts, it's about borders crossed, court orders ignored, and consequences enforced. But beneath the law, beneath the charges and the sentencings, there's something deeper happening here. Because international parental kidnapping doesn't usually begin with the intent to commit a crime, it begins with a story. A story someone tells themselves to make the unbearable feel necessary, to make disobedience feel justified, and to make fear sound like wisdom. And this is where the law ends and the heart begins. Carson pled guilty to international parental kidnapping and was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, 1 year of supervised release, a court order prohibiting contact with her son unless approved by the family court. Now, because we're honeybees and we always want to get down into the sticky, icky truth, there are some really good truths that we need to look into here. So, how do I say this? And this is hard, because this is truth and then this is self-deception that sort of collide together. When a parent builds a new life, a new family, and a new sense of what feels right, it becomes easier to tell yourself a story. This is safer. This is better. This is what God would want. But scripture warns us that feeling justified does not mean being truthful. Proverbs 21:2 says, "Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart." The danger isn't breaking the law, it's convincing ourselves that it's obedience because it aligns with our emotions. So I want to stop right there just for a minute because this story doesn't sit at arm's length for me. It's close, real close. I'm walking through a custody situation of my own right now. And I'll be honest with you guys, the fear of a parent taking a child overseas, this is not some far fetched idea I read about in a headline. That fear has been in my own home. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came from real conversations, real arguments, and moments where things were said that don't just disappear when the fight's over. And I need to be real clear here. This isn't about rumors or assumptions. I married a man who was a foreign national, and my own attorney sat me down and told me straight up, if the right paperwork isn't in place, international parental kidnapping isn't just possible, it happens. Not because every parent wakes up planning to do wrong, but because fear can make you justify things you never thought you would do. So when I hear cases like this one, a mother saying she was protecting her child, I understand how someone gets there. I understand how you can tell yourself, I'm doing this out of love, but love doesn't cancel truth. And it sure doesn't cancel consequences. Okay? I want y'all again to keep that scripture in your mind. Every way of a person is right in their own eyes. And I feel like that is the truth when it comes to here. We can convince ourselves we're being faithful, we're just being afraid. We can say it's for protection, but really the truth is all about control. And sometimes the hardest truth isn't the one the court hands down, it's the one God whispers when we're quiet enough to listen. I'm sharing this because I know how real this fear is for parents, especially mothers. Love makes us fierce, but truth is what keeps our children safe. The most dangerous lies don't sound cruel, they sound kind, they sound faithful, they sound like, I'm just doing what's best. But the truth is, we need to stand on it. Stand on what is right. Even when we're faced with it may not go your way. So cases like this, they just remind us of fragile custody disputes can become and how quickly they can spiral beyond control. And when that happens, the line between right and wrong doesn't disappear, it just becomes easier. If you or someone you know is involved in a custody conflict, legal guidance matters, and court order matter, please, I implore you, have them look into this case. Have them sit down with a lawyer. Make sure they have all documentation properly set. Take wise counsel. Listen to that voice inside you. Thanks again to my live audience that have come in and shared their thoughts and their opinions. Please remember that I record every Thursday and new episodes will be uploaded on YouTube every Monday. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. I look forward to chatting it up with you guys in the comments. Thank you again for coming in. And as always, stay sweet out there, honeys. Bye.